One of the first things that I do with the horse, as soon as I get on his back and I'm working on steering, stopping, control, and that kind of thing, is I want to teach the horse to stop without pulling hard on both reins. My starting process, I do a lot of ground driving. I start them soft in the mouth, and I don't want to do anything when I get in the saddle to make their mouth harder, to make more resistance. So to keep the horse's mouth soft, what I'm going to do when I start teaching stop, I'm going to come around about a 45-degree angle to the wall. I'm going to take just the rein on the side of the wall, and we're going to turn to the wall and go the other direction. Notice the direction that I'm pulling, that's really important. I want to teach the horse to be soft on his front end, engage his back end. If in my groundwork videos, you see that I do my lunging different than what most people do, because my lunging is geared towards teaching the horse to work off of his back end. I never disengage the back end from the saddle or on the ground. So all of my techniques are geared towards that. I want my horses to advance towards showing. A lot of the techniques that you see clinicians do, they teach it that way because it's maybe a little easier on the person to learn how to do it. And most of the riders that ride in those clinics, they're not looking to advance the horse to a very high level to show. All of my horses are going to show and be competitive. So I do a lot of things different than what you see in the clinic. See how he's pulling on my face here, or he's pulling on my hands with his face. I'm going to come back around and I'm going to turn him into the wall again. Just pull on one rein and turn and walk. You notice I'm not saying whoa, I'm not asking him to stop, I'm not doing anything other than turn to the wall. Make it very simple. I'm only going to do one thing at a time. Never ask your horse to do more than one thing at a time. If you have a series of things you want him to do, ask him to do that series one thing at a time. Turn to the wall. See, now right there, I picked up the rein to turn to the wall and he stopped. I'm going to reward him for the stop. He needs to get better about pulling on my hand like he's doing. But he came to a stop with just that contact on that one rein. Now let's turn to the wall, and we're going to go the other way. I pointed his nose, then I applied contact with my leg and then my spur right behind the girth. I want the front end to come up and sweep around. Come around again. Turn to the wall. Right, point his nose, then right leg. Now this time I'm going to come around. I'm going to point his nose. I'm going to say the word, and then I'm going to point his nose to the fence. Whoa. Stopped on whoa. The work that I've done has given me this tool. So now he stops just on the word whoa. If I said the word whoa and he had not stopped, what I would have done was taken this rein and turned to the fence. That way I'm never pulling on both reins at one time. I'm only doing one at a time. Now, as you're using your hands, let's talk about what your hands do with the snaffle bit. So, when I'm riding with the snaffle bit, right here my left hand, my inside rein, controls bend. It controls the direction the horse is thinking. He's thinking about going that way. If I ask him, if I want to cut my circle in half, say, I can pull his head more. That's not going to make him think any more about it. See, when I did that, he got all on his front end. Now his back end is really walking a circle bigger than what his front end is walking. See how the quality of my circle got really poor. So let's go back forward again. I want to be able to see his eye in front of the bridle, but that's all. Just tilted just that far enough. So now, I have him thinking left. I'm going to use my outside rein, my neck rein, and my outside leg to bring the shoulder across. That's how I make my circle smaller. It's not by pulling any harder. Outside rein controls the direction the horse is thinking, controls the bend. Your steering is actually your outside rein. This is my steering. This is my speed control too. I can keep his head looking to the left. I'll come around so you can see me better. Just like I was pulling that one rein to the fence to change directions. Let's go forward. Just like I was pulling on the one rein to change directions, I can control his bend with this left hand. I'm going to ask him to stop. Whoa, with the right hand. That was my brake. It's nothing to do with this hand. This hand is only bend and him thinking that way. This is my speed control. This is my slow down. This is my stop. You should never just pull straight back on a horse with a snaffle bit. There are some situations like just then when I had contact on both reins. I was telling him think this way with this hand, telling him to stop with that hand. I did have contact on both reins, but his head is not straight and just pulling back on both reins. Pulling back on both reins is what causes this head pulling on my hands issue that I'm working through. The other part of that, the head pulling on my reins, I'm working this horse to get his shoulders up, get him engaged in the back end. So I've been riding him in a shank bit doing that, putting contact on both reins. So you have to kind of give and take. I never ride a horse in the same bit more than 3 rides in a row. I've been working on lifting his shoulders, rounding his back with a leverage bit. Now I've gone back to this snaffle bit to work on some lateral bend. That's going to get him better about not pulling on my hands, using this lateral bend with a snaffle bit. Always reinforce whatever you're doing with your hands with your legs. Anytime you're riding, your legs should be against your horse. Don't have to be squeezing hard, but they need to be against your horse. Right now I have both calves touching him. Don't have spur on him, I just have calf. Now if I'm going to go this way, I want him thinking that way with this rein. Let's go forward. See, right there, I kind of tapped with my calves, he didn't go. Right there, I tapped with my calves and he didn't go, so I went on and squeezed with both spurs to squeeze him forward. You should always ride with the spur to reinforce your calf. It goes back to ask, tell, demand. I asked with my body, rode forward. I told with tapping with my calves. I have to have the spur to demand to show him that he has to do what I'm asking him to do. So you should always ride with a spur. So if you're wanting your horse to progress to a higher level, you should always ride with the spur. If you're not very good with your legs with the spur, then you need to work on becoming better. So now I'm going to reinforce what my hands do with my legs. Think right, steer right. I'm not going to accept that. I'm just going to hold that rein. Let's go back forward again. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to scold him a little bit for pulling on me. Let's go back forward again. I'm not going to just sit here and let him just pull back against me. Scold him a little bit. He has to not pull on me. Give his head. Soften his head up. I'm not jerking. I'm asking him to put effort into giving his head. Let's work the left rein. Give me your head. Forward with my legs. I gave him a little spur there. Give me your head. Effort. I need effort. It's not enough that he just does what I ask. I need him to do what I ask with effort. I have a horse here that the owner pretty much just, he takes on trail rides and pretty much just lets the horse go where it wants to go. That is causing me problems out here when I ask the horse to give me a little more effort. She has a pretty serious problem with it because she's not, give me your head, she's not used to the rider really dictating what goes on. Give me your head. So you notice in this training session with this horse, I have a goal that I want to accomplish with this horse. I want to get the shoulders softer. I want to get it more, to moving more laterally off the neck rein. But you notice I've had to work a couple of things to make that happen. It's not just a matter of ask with the leg and go on. I need the face soft. I need it not pulling on me. And I need his mind wanting to do what I ask him to do. This builds into your spin. If you're working on getting your horse to show and reining or ranch riding where there's going to be a spin and you need to spin, he needs to be soft and he needs to be thinking that way. So now I have his head looking to the right. Now I have his head looking to the right. Let's add some right rein. Oh, he's not thinking. He thought about going that way. Now we're going to go forward. I went on and banged on him pretty hard with my spurs because him stopping was telling me no. I'm not going to accept no. I'm going to go straight to demand. His head is looking that way. Let's add some neck rein. And a nice step over. I'm going to let him stop. Nice step over. I didn't put any leg on him. Now there's some issues that's going to happen here because I let him stop, because we didn't engage in the back end through the turn. But I wanted to give him a reward for stepping over on the neck rein. No leg there, that's just neck rein. Now I'm going to send him forward, pulling on my hands. Not acceptable. He has to put effort into doing things correct. And that was a little bit of a scold. But anytime you scold a horse for something, how you scold them has to match the crime that they did. I'm not going to just beat him up over it. I'm going to let him know, you pull on my hands, that's not acceptable. Bring your head over here. Ask him to step around again. Point his nose, neck rein. There we go. This time I'm going to send him on forward, a little squeeze. Sending him forward engages the back end. Let's talk a little bit about how that spin works. When I'm teaching my reining horse to spin, and we build in speed, like some of them can spin pretty fast, the speed does not come from the shoulders. The speed comes from the hips, pushing. They're going to step around in the front. They're going to push forward in the back. So he gave me a couple of nice steps. We left the spin, and I gave him a squeeze with my spurs to get him to engage that back end. Let's do that again. This horse here, he's here because he's got some issues with how he carries himself. And I'm working through those issues by teaching him some maneuvers where if he carries himself correctly, the maneuvers are easy. If he carries himself incorrectly, the maneuvers are hard. So let's ask him to step around again. Pulling on my hands, I'm going to give him a little tug. Step around to the right. Pulling on my hands, I gave it a little tug. That step around wasn't as nice because he was pulling on this hand. The horse has to be soft to your reins. Just little pulls like that just to get him soft. Forward, forward. Now let's ask to step around again. Just rein. Pretty nice. Now I'm going to squeeze with both spurs, pick his back up, drive him forward. So in this exercise with this horse, I've covered a lot of ground. I've talked about how to get the front end loose by turning against the wall. I've talked about how to teach the horse to stop on the word whoa. That again goes back to this turning on the wall exercise that I just did. And I've talked about getting the horse soft on your hands so that you can work on the step around and the spin. This is Wilbur. I've done quite a few videos on him. He's really good candidate to show you a lot of these things. So I've used him quite a bit for videos. Until next time, thank you for watching.